Great. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, welcome to the Compassion Games MLK Beloved Community Weekend Convergence. This is the third day of our outstanding sessions with different participants and experts speaking about how we can build the beloved community together. We had many events on Friday and then Saturday and today, which is Dr. King's birthday, January 15th. So we want to say a special thankful. Dr. King would have been 94 years old today, and give him a happy birthday wish. And this session, we are going to be speaking with upcoming author Mishorn Daniels, and he has written a book that'll be published in March with the title "I Am Not Your Black America." And we're going to be talking about the beloved community and taking the issue of skin color and issues like this. So, Mishorn, well, welcome to the Compassion Games Beloved Community Convergence.
Hey, thank you for inviting me. I want to thank the Compassion Games. I've constantly always heard about the good work that you're all been doing. This will probably be the first time that I'm actually involved in doing something myself, part of the game. So I feel honored, and I appreciate you all putting this together. I want to thank everybody who's here and to listen to this conversation. And my book, I'm Not Your Black America, is something I'm pretty proud of. Anyone who's known me, I've always been very adamant that color has been the biggest sin that this country started with by introducing color. And the fact that we have never passed legislation to remove color off the table, in my opinion, is going to always be the problem with racism. Color is the foundation of why racism exists. Whenever anybody thinks that when you say white or when you say black, and we think about that, what those terms and constructs mean, it means somebody thinking they're more superior or another making others feel more inferior. So I believe Martin Luther King was on spot. And I want to read what he specifically said. He said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children would one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." So that's what I open up my conversation with, and that's what my book is all about as well. So, I'm interested in people wanted to let's talk about it. What did Martin Luther King? What was he talking about? Why is that relevant now in the 21st century? And are we getting better? Or are we getting worse? With Black Lives Matter being on the scenario now, with all these everything being, are we getting better? Or are we getting worse? Are we still looking at people by the color of their skin and not by the content of the character? I want to hear what other people are saying. So there you go, Peter.
Wonderful, wonderful. So in your book, you bring up interesting about when your daughter had a conversation with Black Lives Matter, and those who know Uncle Mishorn, he is definitely not. He's definitely a unique person, and he's very strong. You have a background in the military and in the community, a block watch captain, and you've always been someone who spoke your truth and sometimes rubs people the wrong way, but other people support what you have to say. So tell us that experience, because I think that's interesting. Why you started the organization God's Lives Matter and how that came about.
Well, that's thank you for pulling that up, Peter. That again, it correlated with the color. My daughter, she was going to Western Kentucky. I'm a very outspoken, unapologetic, conservative person, and I had, on Facebook, I had put "All Lives Matter" when it was a big push for Black Lives Matter. I put "All Lives Matter," and my daughter, felt, I gave her the room to come talk to me, so she called me up and to challenge me on why I was saying all lives matter and how I was just, confused because of my conservative views. And so I allowed my daughter to actually speak her truth. I didn't want to interfere. I'm a retired sergeant first class. I'm not used to someone who I consider my subordinate, having an opinion and trying to correct me, but she's my daughter. So I gave her an opportunity to speak her truth. And she shared her thoughts and her beliefs of why Black Lives Matter was an important organization and figure of what they were doing. After she finished, I asked her, was she clear? Was she finished? And this is what I said to her. I said, dear, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and your grandmother, okay, and I remember seeing white only white water fountains, white only restrooms. And I remember asking my mother about what that was all about. And at the time, my mother just said that this was the times and that's how things were. And through my life, I started realizing that color has always been a problem. So I told my daughter, I don't believe God intended for color to be a problem. The dominant European culture implemented color to make a demographic of people to feel inferior. I don't believe God is going to come back with Black Lives Matter and fix the problems with Black Lives Matter. And so that's what I told my daughter. I said, if I was going to say anything, I would never say Black Lives Matter. I would say God's Lives Matter. And that's how God's Lives Matter was birthed. And I'm the founder of that organization, godslivesmatter.com. A year later, I put that organization together to attack the very thing. Every human life, infinite, every life has an infinite value that's created by God. Thanks for bringing it up, Peter.
Yeah, so another thing which you helped initiate was a couple years back on July 3rd at the Kentucky Capitol. And I was a part of that along with some of our other brothers and sisters. And we petitioned the Kentucky government to take skin color off their government forms, which is quite interesting. And as I teach about, the idea of white supremacy, which came about in Europe in the 1400s, 1500s, it was two key planks of it. The first plank was there was 5 different species of humans, and that was their theory, their ideology, and they call them black, white, yellow, red, and brown. So they actually, which is kind of crazy, said that there was 5 different species of human beings, separate, and kind of like in the animal world, we have squirrels or rabbits or chipmunks or different species of animals. And then the second part of their doctrine was that the white race was superior, and the other 4, which is black, brown, yellow, and red, were heathens and inferior. So you're very true what you said. The very fact that it was created to practice racism, basically, because it separated people. I guess the interesting thing, 500 years later, Bishar, maybe talk about this, and anyone else like to talk about, why are we still using skin color to define folks? And that legislation was an attempt to tell Kentucky to take skin color off those government forms.
Yeah, Peter, July, what you're referencing is July, there's 15 slave states. If you were to look it up in our history, there's 15 original slave states that participated in creating slaves. That means that they participated in using the N-word, demonizing people based on color. That was their model. That was their intent. So Kentucky is one of the 15 slave states. So I had an idea with a few other people that why don't we seek and get our governor to help pass legislation? And I want to let you all know that the Republican Party actually was on board with this, Peter. Do you remember? They helped us write the legislation that we actually had the governor look at, and we actually had conversations. The reason why nobody's got on board with it because we need numbers. We need numbers of people who's willing to get on. But what we found out is that the dominant European culture, I heard that earlier show talking about economics, how we're going to improve economics. Well, let me explain something to you. The dominant European culture has an intentional thing in maintaining racism and maintaining color. and they have no intention about changing economics when it's going to interfere with their ability to continue their economic platform. How do I know that? If you're not willing to pass legislation to strike you down from being white and us still calling ourselves black, that means that you're literally trying to block the opportunity of anything changing in this government. And that's what I learned about when we passed that, when we went up there. None of the legislators wanted to get on board with it, not because they didn't agree with it, Peter. It's because they didn't want the idea of striking down color that would interfere with the dominant European culture still being in a dominant majority. That's real talk, okay? So when I hear people talking about, oh, let's change the system, just third way and everything, only thing I say, you want to change the system, let's strike down color, okay? Let's get behind striking down color first, and then I can see some things changing after that.
Okay,
but that's a whole other conversation.
Well, great. And so we got some great leaders on the Zoom with us. And so we're going to open it up. This is really going to be a conversation. If something you heard you like, something you challenge. So let's hear from Bill Houston. Bill's got some input.
Yeah, me, Sean. First, I'd like to say, man, congratulations on writing the book. That's a huge feat.
Yes, sir.
And no matter what's in the book, that is a huge feat. To be able to sit down.
That, dude.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. One of the things that you just said is I agree with it definitely in substance, and I talked about this on the presentation before, is that they outlawed discrimination by race in home ownership. But it hasn't made any difference, right? So it's not the law anymore, but it's but the numbers haven't changed, right? And the things that it existed before still exist before. So I would like to ask you a question, right? I just wanted to make that comment, but I'd like to ask you a question, and I would like being a part of descendants of American slaves, I would like you to talk a little bit about it. I don't know if this is in your book or not, but to talk a little bit about what it means to be a descendant of an American slave. And because for me, reading that book, when I initially read that book, it gave me a whole new perspective on the people who call themselves African Americans here, and the difference between African Americans and the descendants of American slaves. If you could speak to that, thank you.
Hey, boy, you're a boy of my own heart. Of course, I have no problem talking about that. And it is all through my book. It's the whole reason why I say I'm not your black, America. So if I'm not your black America, who am I? Okay, who am I trying to identify myself to? And who I'm trying to identify myself to is what America's Little Black Book, brought out by Dr. Noah Shelton, was quite interesting. And it had to do with the economics of this country. This country decided that it was more profitable to make a demographic of people their free labor. And they labeled it and demonized them based on color. And then they labeled them as black. And the people who labeled them as black is the dominant European culture. And what's interesting about that, Bill, is that the dominant European culture didn't have to call themselves white. They were already in control. They were in the dominant position. Why did they call themselves white? And why did they call the people that they made free labor of black? Economics, bro. Economics, okay? But nobody will talk about it like that. That's simple. That's a simple talk. So why I want to say that I'm not black and I want to call myself an American descendant of slave was in the book, and I'm glad that you brought it up. Dr. Noah Shelton specifically said that before 1776 and 1619, the enslaved Africans came from Africa. They came here in Jamestown, in that community, before America was even formed, and they made them slaves on American soil. That was a legal entity, slaves. We know that because in the movie Roots, we saw lot of people don't realize that whole movie was before America formed in 1776. Bill, did you know that? Did you know the whole movie of the Roots had to do with the times of America forming before 1776? Did you know that?
I did, and this is your thing, so I don't want to take that. I want you to do all the talking, but one of the things that I do when I talk about the history is there was a history up to 1776, right? Under British rule, and
right.
After 1776, then it became America.
Right.
And because the British didn't have a Declaration of Independence,
you go.
The British did not have a constitution that there were so many compromises in the Constitution when it was written early on that allowed slavery because of the economic benefit. But this is your show, so don't ask me questions because I'll keep talking.
But I love, a show is only good when you have other people to understand the knowledge of that we're trying to talk about. So you asked me a specific question: why do I identify as an American descendant of slavery? Why is that a problem? Well, it ties in with Norris' book. Norris' book says we weren't Black. They were slaves. And if they were slaves when America formed in 1776, their identity should have become American slaves. Ooh, they should have been American slaves, not Black, not Negroes, not African Americans, but they ought to have been American slaves. So what he was saying is that why is it that the dominant European culture intentionally did not allow those demographics of people who were slaves before they came into America, America formed into America? Why did they still maintain a lower, less class and economic position when they could have been citizens day one as American slaves? Why? Because of the economic game plan that they was trying to put together. And so when you look at that, so 1871, when America reformed, oh, did I just say something? Did people realize that America reformed in 1871? That means if America reformed in 1871, that means that everyone that came into America from 1776 all the way up to that, even through the Civil War, that was all American slaves. Anyone after that were descendants of American slaves. Oh, this is the education that nobody want to talk about. From 1871 all the way to 2019, they were descendants of American slaves. Everyone now, 2019 on, we are the American descendants of slaves. That's why I say I'm not your Black American. Did I just break that off real good, bro?
I appreciate that, and I think it's important. I think it's important for people to understand that history in relationship to economics, and I think that we can't really separate that. And the last thing I want to say, because this is your thing, and I want you to talk, but is that we cannot separate the enslavement of people from Africa from the discovery of this continent and the spread of of people across this continent, because there would have been no reason to bring slaves here had there not been this massive amount of land that for the taking.
Right.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, they needed some free labor. Okay, and so let's not dismiss the fact that you had a demographics of people that you intentionally demonized, stole their humanity away from them, made them feel less than, made them feel like trash all through this country, told them they were Black, okay, told them that they were not human, they were only segregated to a color, okay, so you can use for your own good. And then when we start want to rise up and want to get some 1920 Wall Street, when we try to build our stuff and try to make a dignity of it, no, the dominant European culture came along and said, oh no, you Black people can't do that. We gonna bomb you, okay? Not just there in Florida, where I'm from, okay? Everywhere were people who was identified as Black, the dominant European culture came along and destroyed them to keep them in their place. So when I say, and I get very passionate about it, I'm not your Black America, I am a descendant of American slaves. The very people that you don't want us to talk about, I want to give honor. I want to honor those people, man. I don't want to leave them out there saying they didn't matter. Their life mattered. That's why I told my daughter, God's lives matter. Every life that was created by God mattered, and it wasn't a color. So I'm very passionate about this. You know, anybody want to get in this conversation with me, you better bring your A game, because I'm very passionate about the fact that the dominant European culture, you notice I don't use the color white. I specifically say the dominant European culture intentionally, through economic means, kept our people boxed into being Black so they can maintain their economic power and enslavement of people who will continue to identify themselves to color.
Beautiful.
We only become men when we start being able to identify ourselves and tell our children who we are, not by what somebody else telling us.
Beautiful. So we got Carlos has raised his hand. Carlos, you want to share a question or a comment?
Thank you so much, Mershawn. Really appreciate your passion. When I was in school, we read a book called The Irony of Democracy.
Yes.
Which talked about the concept of, we think that the United States was founded by, patriots that love the common good. It's total bullshit. I mean, we were founded by elites that wanted to control power, wanted to keep their power, and
Speak it, brother.
The slaves go back to the indigenous people, right? I'm 39% Indian of the Americas, which means my people in South America were attacked and conquered, all for the same thing, right? Expansionism, what's the right term? Imperialism.
Yeah.
Imperialism, right.
To take resources. This story has played out over and over and over again. And to think that we have a democracy is sort of, the same people, it's just changed hands, basically.
Right.
And nothing has really been done. And I never thought of your point of view of the fact that when you label somebody Hispanic, Black, you're really what's the right word?
Demonizing them.
Yeah, you're demonizing and dehumanizing them, because you're
dehumanizing them. Exactly.
lumping them together as some sort of thing that's different from everything else. Yep. When at the end of the day, the indigenous people, we had a conversation the other day, they considered everybody part of the human species. They just had different containers. It wasn't like a race. It wasn't like you're a different race. It was you're just a different container. And we're, if you look inside, if you look at our palms, if you look at us as humans, especially military, right, brother? If you're military, we believe.
That's right. I'm military. That's right. That's exactly.
When you're out in the shit, you don't care whether your brother's Black.
Man, when you're in that foxhole, with your other brothers and everything, the last thing you give a flip about is the color of somebody's skin. The only thing you care about, do my brother got my back? Okay.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. That's all we care about.
I had never thought of it from your point of view, and it really, it really gets my mind thinking. With all these terms that we have, when you apply for anything, you have to check, right?
Yeah.
Are you Hispanic? Are you white? Yeah. Why isn't there? Are you human?
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, let me be, first of all, brother, thank you for acknowledging, and the whole point is that, we have this show called The Focus. I get the yeah, Peter, help me out. The Truth Be Told show, the Truth Be Told show. And what we do is we allow people to speak their truth. I love when other people speak their truth. I'm not looking for you to be in agreement with me, but I want you to seek understanding. And it sounds like you sought an understanding. You got the understanding. I don't need for you to agree with me and everything, but do you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying? So I really do appreciate that piece of you just understanding, okay? There are going to other people disagree, but do you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying? So thank you for that piece of just understanding.
Great. And Kurt, you've raised your hand. Let's share your thoughts and interest. And tell us where you're from too, since we got folks from all over the country. Michon and I are in Louisville, and Bill Houston are in Louisville, Kentucky. Carlos is in Virginia, but yeah, just tell us who you are and where you're calling from, and share your insights.
Well, I'm in Southern California, and I'm in the territory that was the human territory of the people called Tongva at one time and Chumash. But you know, brother, we're all brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And that's all we're about, because this idea of so-called race, science proves there is no race,
Yeah.
period. And
That's
yet
right.
the separation demonizers are allowing this to happen. So
Right.
it keeps us fighting against each other.
Amen.
Yeah. So we in the Peacemaker Circle, and I put this whole thing about it is, we focus on exactly what we want. And like when people talk about the Ukraine, and very few people are talking about something called Yemen or other places, like I'm doing consulting all over Africa because my wife is from South Africa. And we are doing things all over the world actually with peacemaker circles. We're training people in how to be able to take their expertise, whether it's in cinema or music or whatever skills they have, and bring it to life first, obviously, in their family and community and so on, and then spreading it elsewhere. And the biggest thing, if we are not peaceful inside,
That's right.
then we're coming with anger. And what does that
Right.
mean? It only breeds the shit we don't want. Excuse my French for the.
Hey, no, bro. Hey, and I'm already.
Is that a French word, actually?
It's not actually. I could say chit, and chit sort of sounds like what I was saying, but chit in Sanskrit means energy. So that's a lot of energy.
Hey, I appreciate your comments and everything. And, you know, we are brothers, okay? When we acknowledge that we are human, okay, then we're brothers, okay? Because the humanity only created two species when it comes to humanity. It was male and female. I don't care about all those pronouns and all that nonsense. I ain't getting into all that, okay? I care less, okay? The only thing I know is male and female, he and she, okay? And when you're willing to come to the table, and if you've never met me, Sean T. Daniels, and you just want to get to know me for who I am, then that's a good thing. But if you have to say, when you see me, you say, oh, he's Black. Well, the moment that you do that, okay, you bringing your own little box identity of what you think that means, okay? And that gets you in trouble with me, okay? Because I'm not that guy, okay? I'm a human first, and I want you to get to know who I am. And then once you get to know me, then you're gonna be like, ooh, that's me, Sean. Yeah, that's me, Sean. That's right. You'll never associate me as being the color. You will know me as me, Sean. And that's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you bringing your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful.
Bill.
Yeah, Kurt, that's exciting. So tell us a little bit, real quick, tell us a little bit more about the Peacemaker Circles, because you dropped that on us. That sounds very interesting.
Well, the Peacemaker Circle has been around for almost a year right now, but it really was derived from the Peace Lab. And the Peace Lab has been producing programs for Humanity Rising Global Solutions Summit.
Yeah.
And we've had 16 or 18 programs, and diverse programs. I mean, very diverse, with not only the people on it, but also the points of view. Our last one was on humor and laughter as a regenerative way to be able to change the bullshit. And we get to be able to use that or any other tool to be able to make life better for everybody. Just in a walk up the street, a simple example. I walk up the street because I live on a hill in the San Fernando Valley. And there's a guy that passes me up every morning around 7 o'clock. And he stops at the top of the hill, goes into the house at the top of the hill, and then drives out with the family that lives there. Why? Because he's a guy that works in landscaping. And he happens to have a truck that he was able to buy in America. He's been in America long enough to buy the truck and to live in North Hollywood in his own apartment, but he doesn't speak English.
Mm.
Dude, I said, the little Spanish that I know, I said, look, you can learn English through this app. And we opened up his phone, and I got him to be able to download the app so that he can learn English. Just like I learned a little bit more Spanish again, because I forgot the good Spanish that I knew. And I'm learning more again to communicate with more people. When I go to a new country, if I talk with people in Afghanistan or Pakistan,
pronounced Thai money.
Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, and so on.
Thai money.
We can greet each other with a beautiful greeting. Like in Spanish, adios means to God. Most people think it means goodbye. But where else can you go when it's in reality, all this is God? And when we realize that, we start treating it that way.
Amen.
All these beautiful things that we can do, bringing really the wholeness of life.
Pronounced Thai money.
So
I would like to,
Elizabeth. Oh, hold on a
I would
second.
like for us to,
Thai money.
I would like for us to get to know one another. So I definitely hope Peter and us you can connect us. I like what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Elizabeth has joined us, and Ingrid. Let's hear from some of our sisters if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment.
Sorry, I'm in the hub at the same time, so I'm trying to go back and forth between listening. The parts that I've been able to listen to, I am so grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to be here and witness of the sharing that is happening of men with very strong convictions and the strength of character and integrity that is being uplifted, of saying that this is the most important aspect of who we are as humans, of who we are as beings, and the ability to really honor that, but the part of all of us that needs to bring that into wholeness, into oneness, into alignment with the best potential that we have of all of ourselves. So I'm grateful that you are sharing your truth.
You know, I'm gonna pull from my book here, and when you go read my book, you're gonna appreciate what I'm about to say. So I'm gonna look right at you, and I'm gonna tell you something. In my book, I specifically talked about, because I'm a surgical technologist, and as a surgical technologist, I'm in an environment where the dominant European culture is not me. Okay, so I have been able to navigate in that environment. And what happened is that one time, okay, I had a European woman who was a nurse, okay, who actually, I thought I selected her because we started working together in the rooms and everybody started seeing how we working together. And what was interesting about it, you appreciate this, is that she stopped me and said, "Me, Sean, after 5 years we had been working together," she said, I made the impression that, oh, I picked you to work with me. And she said, "No, me, Sean, I actually picked you." She said, "You know why? Is it because there are other European women, young nurses, that were having problems with your strength, me, Sean. They were having problems with how you were just you good at what you do, and you don't walk around there feeling like you need to walk on potato chips. And I felt that I needed to protect you and everything. And I picked you and brought you in." And it caused me to become a little emotional because she said she saw my humanity. They were looking at my color, but she saw my humanity. So isn't that beautiful? You know, isn't it beautiful that she let me realize that where I thought I picked her, looking at her humanity, she let me know, no, boy, you don't realize the stuff that you was stirring up and how these European women was getting angry and they were reporting on you and making you out to be, you know, toxic masculinity and all that stuff and everything. I came along and covered you and protected you. Isn't that a beautiful story?
That is a beautiful story. Yeah, I have indigenous background and also European descent and Jewish. So I'm a Heinz 57 mix of all kinds of stuff. But I can recognize the call of, and I don't know if it's masculine to feminine. I don't know if it's just unity of oneness. There's
Yes.
a voice of truth that rings in a very high level of oneness and connectedness, that it goes beyond any label
Yes.
we could put on it. And when I hear the voice of truth, it makes my heart sing, and it makes me go, yeah, I'm right there. I'm in support of this.
Well, I
And
heard
yeah.
you from the other show. I was glad that you came on, because guess what? Oh, I heard that in you too. Okay. I was like, I hope she comes to my show too, because I heard your voice and I saw how you spoke, and you just, so I just want to acknowledge, thank you for coming and listening to me. But I hope that I'm hoping that I can be a part of your program, maybe for the openness, which I call it the openness.
Open space. Yes.
Open
That'd be
space, open
awesome.
space.
That'd be
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank
that's
you. Thank you.
And tell us a little more about open space at 4
Yes.
p.m. tomorrow.
Yes. Open space is the opportunity for us to go from kind of individuals that are doing their own thing, which are great. And we want to get out the word of everything that's happening. This is why we're here, is that we definitely want to share with the world these important things. There's too much negativity going on. We need to have like an understanding, awareness of, no, the tide really is turning, and these voices are being heard, and these actions are being done, and these things are happening. We can shift what we put attention on grows. What we put our efforts into, what we put our awareness onto, literally expands on so many levels. So this is just the initial stage of individuals sharing their voice, and we want to share more of that. But then collectively, it's like we are all pieces of, I think we're talking about this in the Team Up Brand Earth meeting. It's like we're this big puzzle that we have all of these pieces. We have all the resources that we need. It's the relationship of how they fit together. It's like, if you ever gone to the garage sale and gotten a puzzle that doesn't have the picture of it, but you've got all the pieces,
Right.
but you don't know what it's supposed to look like. You gotta
Right.
maneuver the pieces to fit them together. We are all have this part of the unique unfolding of what's happening in the now. And so when we move from individualized to collective, it becomes a collaborative effort. We're not pitching these things, we're pooling our efforts.
Right.
We're creating this momentum that moves us forward together. And that's what the open space is designed to give us, an opportunity to really get some traction in that area and start the collaborative journey together, so that we can really be what we call in the magic canoe, the thing that's where is that? The tales of synergy, of how we are synergizing for the greater good, for the greatest amount of people. And I'm gonna obviously have to go again. Sorry.
Okay, Ingrid. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And Bill Houston had his hand up. Bill, you want to share a question or comment?
You can put your mic on.
Yeah, there we go. I wanted to kind of address what is behind me showing there, and it says, we will not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And something that Kurt said, a little earlier, and I think a lot of times we overlook this, and we really don't realize this, is that it's not necessarily the things that I do externally, right? It's what's going on with me internally that have me to behave the way that I do externally, and understanding, some of the things that drive us as people and individuals, and then what that looks like, right, is the way we behave towards other people. And, it's those character issues that, that are often overlooked.
Right.
And I think one of the main character defects that we often overlook is just greed. Right. And, somebody had mentioned on a different one that, here in the US, we have 5% of the population, but we use like 20% of the world's resources. I mean, like, that's something that I need to look at internally, right? Not other people see that. I mean, other people see that, right, in other places. And I just think that, really understanding, the content of our character and the internal things that drive us, right? And I just think that was great that you brought that point up, Kurt, and I love the fact that you have that behind you there, Mishore. Just my comment.
When I thought about being a part of this, people was talking about my book, and of course, I want to promote my book. My book is coming out. It's going to debut March 11th, and I'm actually trying to make it bestseller. I mean, my birthday was January 6th. I thought I was going to bring it out in January, but my business partners told me we needed to market it if we wanted to really bring some attention to it. And I like the idea. And actually, it has matured me a lot because I'm excited. I want to get it out. I mean, it's my first book, man. I want to get it out there and everything. But the self-control and the discipline of understanding the marketing and branding is all part of business and everything. So when I was thinking about being a part of this and how could I connect my book to Martin Luther King, what stood out is exactly what I was about. Okay. When he talked about his 4 children, he was prophesizing not to the generation then, but our times. Did y'all realize that? He was actually talking to our generation and on, okay, that there will be a time that we will hopefully be able to not be judged by our color. Well, that's something that we got to make happen. It's not going to be something just going to happen on its own. And that's what I like to hear more people talk about. How can we change this thing of seeing ourselves as color and focus on our content and making people see us for who we are?
Absolutely. Kurt, yeah, you had some feedback on that?
Oh boy, this idea of character. Oh my God. My boys, when they were very young, they got to spend 6 straight months down in South Africa. Hardest time for me because I had to be away from them for 2.5 months and 2.5 months. But they got to not only learn a little bit of the language there, but also they did not see color when they were asked about that by other people when they got back. It's what everybody that is young, there is no separation.
Right.
Children are children. They play together. I've always had friends that are just simply human beings all my life. I got to learn some very bad Spanish with some of them, but and character development. We did a special program on Humanity Rising, and it was about character inclusion for regenerative societies. We highlighted 3 programs. 2 I knew were the best that were out there, and 1 I learned about a lot. The best that I know of had a 90% reduction in violence within 2 years at a refugee camp. If you know what refugee camps are like, all hell's breaking loose. Within 2 years, 90% reduction. The lady who designed that program then went down to Joburg, Johannesburg. She designed a program for street people. Similar kinds of results. Now, street people are oftentimes not always so kind, but the ones that I get to meet when I bring them to lunch or I talk with them and go into the community are way different than most people believe.
Yeah.
Most people, they're evil, they're drunks, they're drug addicts and all that stuff. It's not so. It's just like during the 30s in the Depression, it wasn't so. But we get to treat people with respect and love. And when we do, what do we get back? More respect and love. I put in the chat about the first so many minutes of the movie Human. That literally, for me, is probably the most incredible example of forgiveness and love ever experienced. It's an incredible series of 3 90-minute parts. It can't be seen too easily at once, though. But we are here on a mission of love and light. And when we focus on that, we generate that. It's just like a 100,000-watt radio station in the old days. It could broadcast all the way to Texas from California, kind of thing, or whatever, you know. Anyway, I have a propensity for verbosity, so go ahead and speak up.
Well, thanks so much.
Let me share just a real quick story about this past weekend, Saturday, yesterday. I went into work, and we had a patient that was going on the table. Again, I'm a surgical technologist, and for whatever reason, I'm here. It is Martin Luther King weekend and everything, and the patient saw me walk into the room, and out of the patient's mouth says, "Where is my white doctor?" And everybody in the room froze. And I didn't make a big thing out of it. But the fact is that she saw me walk into the room because I'm the only one in the room looking like myself, and I walked in there and she said, "I want to make sure my white doctor in the room." And the anesthesia person, because they know me, I've been doing this 40 plus years, it said, "Well, we will get your doctor." Okay. But this is me, Sean. Okay. And he's the surgical technologist in his room, and he will be helping and working with the doctor. Okay. And the reason why I bring that up is because, again, you can't help what other people think and feel. Okay. The only thing you can do is respond to it in the most positive way and everything, and let them know not everybody feels the way you feel. Okay. And I know that God is calling each and every one of us, once we take a sense of unlearn and relearn, it is our responsibility to behave in such a way that other people understand that we don't agree with your feelings in the way that you feel when it's based on racism. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's hear from John Morris. He's been very patient. John was born and raised in Australia and been living in America for a long time. He also founded the organization Global One, which is globalwon.org. And John brings a kind of unique perspective. John, what's your input? Any questions or comments?
Good day, mate.
I'm loving everything I hear. First and foremost, it's everybody speaking their truth. I mean, speaking from both the head and the heart. That's important right now, that we can be real before each other and especially before God. We're all first and foremost a part of a big family. It's about 8 billion strong. That's the only label that I'm really interested in, that we are fellow brother and sister family members on this global home. Global One, GLOBALWON, is about a mathematical formula, A equals B over C. Global One equals global family over a global home, B over C. That's what we're interested in. So Peter, myself, and a bunch of other folk are all about how do we promote that type of, that process, if you like, that can bring about globalization of the family in real terms,
Amen.
where every single person steps into their greatness. Our major strategy is all about empowering people to change that. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Where our attention goes, the energy flows. When we start to look at things in which we have in common and see that global family in real terms, that's when amazing things happen. So empowering people first, like a parent with 2 children, 4 grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren, and so on, that's the process by which we operate. So the idea of empowering people with all the work that you're doing, Kurt, with your Peacemaker program, and especially Michonne with your promotion of your book, and way beyond that, and being a spokesperson for this truth of bringing people into the idea of moving way past just race per se as being God makers, as being God. That's big. That is really big. Anyway, in a nutshell, it's like 2 becoming 4, becoming 8, becoming 16, and using that as a strategy in order to change the whole concept of what we do, and starting with a thought the thought to the word to the action eventually then to promotion of this is our truth. This is how we move from individual then to the family, then the collective. So,
Wonderful, wonderful, John.
thank
Very
you.
good.
God bless you all anyway. Think this has been wonderful.
So we got 5 minutes left, so we're gonna do our round robin. Each of us can give 30 seconds closing comments. Then we'll have Mishorn kind of close us out. But also tonight at 7 o'clock, in 2 hours, we have a men's group that's going to be sharing this issue. Females are welcome as well for this one Sunday, but we have a group that meets every Sunday, and we're calling a Man Up Talk on the Beloved Community. And Mishorn Daniels wears many hats. He's one of the founders, along with myself and 5 other brothers, created the Man Up organization 10 years ago. Mishorn, do you believe it was 10 years ago? Isn't that amazing?
I know. Heard you say that once before, like 10 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. So that's at 7 p.m. It'll be on the same Zoom room.
I will be there.
Yeah, so we'll have some good conversation with folks from around the country and the world. We opened it up to females this time. Usually it's males because women have a lot of opportunities to kind of chat, and men don't get together like this too often to share our feelings and hearts. So it's good, and so that's what we're going to be doing at 7 p.m. So let's go around the horn. We'll go alphabetical and just give 30 seconds closing comments. John, we'll start with you.
Thank you again, all of you, for all of your insights. I would encourage everybody also to check out what Carlos Villamar, what he's doing as a vet, and also as a person, I think, that can speak to the issues that have been raised here by you, Mishorn and Kurt. But with everybody here, it seems to me that there's a very, very rich offering that can be changed from the seed to the tree to the forest. All of these truths, all of this sort of thing, I think it's well worthwhile making sure that this becomes a very, very public type of outreach and outcome. Thank you.
All right.
Kurt, you're up next.
I'd have to do the Zoom piece business, because if I have 30 seconds, whenever we meet as peacemakers and we say goodbye, we salute each other. And we look through the goggles of love, like as if we're looking around the world, and we're going to send that love to the world through the Zoom platform. So we say, Zoom peace. We're throwing love out to the world, saying Zoom peace. Why? Because love brings peace. Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful. Okay, next up is Carlos.
I just want to thank you guys for letting me speak, and incredible group of human beings we have here. So I'm easy to find, unlike most people that are trying to hide from the internet. I'm a patent attorney, so I need to be found. So if you can't find me, you're not good at finding, but you can find me pretty easily if you search my name, Carlos Villamar. I go by Carlos R. Villamar, and we're trying to create houses and greenhouses to feed in-house homeless veterans. And I've got a greenhouse that's been operating in my backyard for 11 years. So I'll end with that, but you guys can find me if you want to chat about those sort of things. Thank you.
Carlos, take the word try out of your vocabulary. You are doing it, and it's happening slowly but surely, but you are doing it. It is happening. It is so.
Amen to that.
All right, Bill Houston.
Hey, Mishorn, I want to say again, congratulations on your book. Thank you for your service in the military. And as a marketer, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. And that is always be marketing, man. Talk about your book. Where can we get your book? Where can we get that book at, man? Talk about it, where we can get the book.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Elizabeth, we haven't heard from you. You've been on mute. Would you like to share some closing comments or question?
I'm not sure if Elizabeth is there.
Yes, I am. I'm
Good.
not good with computers. Thank you for everything.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm just listening.
Okay, wonderful. We'll appreciate you. Ingrid, I know you're busy. If you have some closing comments, you can share. Ingrid's actually helping all of the different sessions. All right, we'll turn it back over to you, Mishorn, and give us your closing comments, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next session.
Well, again, thank you for this opportunity, Peter, and through the games. This has been an awesome thing. And I want to thank all the men and everybody that participated, and the women that participated in this conversation, in this dialogue. Again, this is about, character, okay, character versus color. If we could be focused on our character and be willing to see the human in each and every one of us, then I know that we would do much better as a human working together. So in closing about my book, it's debuting in March 11th. You can currently right now, UncleMeShowing.com, UncleMeShowing.com. You can go and register. You can go to also UncleMeShowing.org. You go and register and put your name there. If you go and put your name in, just put your name in there, email and everything, you will get an email back from me or from my marketing team that you'll be able to get a discount on the book, not the Kindle and not the audio, but on the hard copy of the book when it goes live after March 11th. So Uncle Mishorn, I'm trying to become a bestseller. And so if you like it, share it with everybody. Please, I'm asking everyone to share UncleMeShowing.com, UncleMeShowing.org. And I'm not your black, America. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Great. And Sharam has joined us. Sharam's a native of Iran who's helping doing the marketing for Mishorn. Sharam, did you want to share any comments? Questions?
Assalamu
Yeah, I really like the comments from everybody. And I'm gonna get the recording, and I hope with your permission, if in case anybody doesn't want to be in the video, let me know. But I like to take parts of everybody's comment and edit them as part of the marketing because they were really good comments and they were very helpful to us promoting this book. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all for listening. Those on Facebook Live, we appreciate wherever on the planet you exist. As we mentioned, we are one human family under God, and so we just appreciate everyone. And we will see you soon.